Good morning, I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of EducationWorld.
Good morning, I'm Summiya Yasmeen, managing editor.
The August Independence Day issue of EducationWorld has a very, very interesting story.
National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2023. So this is released by the Union Ministry of Education in April. This is a pre-draft, as they call it, inviting public feedback.
Yes.
So this is our feedback to the Union Education Ministry.
And also for teachers and others to make some sense out of it. And perhaps try and understand what National Curriculum Framework for School Education means. Because earlier when we done a story on this, we found most teachers were not quite aware what is the NCF. It is to sum up, it is a kind of a
framework. It's
national
a guideline.
curriculum
Yes.
Within which all children should be taught. It's a framework within which children all across the country should be, what they should be taught and how they should be taught. So this is what's very good job done. It's a very comprehensive document, 683 pages. But don't be, as we say, don't be intimidated by the
huge size.
Because it's very well road mapped. The index is very good. And for example, as a humanities teacher, need not go and read about mathematics, science, and other sections of the magazine.
Like we see in the story that it's more, at least we think that rather than a curriculum framework, it's more of a teacher's reference manual. Hence, its volume and size, which is of 268 pages. But Dilip, we'll come back to the cover story later. Yes. Should we tell our viewers and readers what we've got in store in the other sections in this very information-packed issue? So in our editorial section, again, very important comment on matters of public interest and national importance. One is on why the NDA government needs to carry liberalization to its natural conclusion.
Yes, liberalization of the economy.
Yes,
and extend it into education as well. And then the newspapers have been full of reports of floods, rains, climate change. So we are saying, what are we have given two underpinning factors which are also precipitating climate change and creating a lot of damage in India. So it's quite an interesting editorial which perhaps we recommend to all. Absolutely. And there's our letters page, of course.
Yes, and in education news from Maharashtra, we talk about the Shinde government introducing exams back into school education. So now there's going to be a public exam at class 5 and class 8. And
which lies in the face of the Right to Education Act, saying that no exam should be held between class 1 and class 8. So what are the reasons, etc., discussed here?
And the academic community's feedback, which you'll find perhaps surprisingly they welcome it.
Yes.
They're happy that exams are back.
And then Himachal Pradesh, we are talking, as we said, about the floods, right?
No, yes. And here in Himachal Pradesh, Dilip, we're also talking about the Sun Moon, which was held, the Model United Nations Conference, which was held very successfully despite the rains in Lawrence Sanar.
Lawrence School, Sanar.
Yes. And in Tamil Nadu, we talk about, sadly, Tamil Nadu, which was once India's perhaps most well-educated state.
In the popular perception.
In terms of, at least in the popular perception, how it's slipping down all rankings.
Yes.
And in the recent rankings, they are ranked in the top, bottom half 10 when it comes to learning outcomes. So that's quite a shocking outcome and study over there.
This is based on the NAS, I think, right?
National
Achievement Survey conducted by the Union Education Ministry.
Yes.
In West Bengal, big fight going on academic matters between the governor and the government. And that's been going on for quite a while. So our correspondent, Vaishali Mukherjee, has written about that. And what is the implications and fallout.
And in Karnataka, the government is very agitated that private universities are not inviting a government representative on their board of governors meetings. So there's some letters being sent to private universities castigating and criticizing them for not doing this. So we've got a very interesting report on this from Karnataka.
And the defense of private universities that when they do invite them, they never bother to come.
Show up.
So
institution profile again, we've got a profile on Delhi Public School, Jaipur, a new school which is doing very well. And uniquely, Dilip, in our foreign university profile this time, we have a very interesting university exclusively focused on the new 21st century discipline of artificial intelligence. This is the MBZ
and surprisingly,
University.
it's not in America.
It's surprisingly in Abu Dhabi, MBZ University of Artificial Intelligence. And how again it's attracting a lot of talent. It's a postgrad research university, and how it's attracting talent from around the world and students from around the world.
Yes, but the restrictions there are various restrictions with socialization, dress code, etc., which we wonder whether they will succeed in attracting students from around the world.
Yeah.
Then there are our young achievers, some interesting stories there. A piano genius and another young youth who's studied at that Abu Dhabi University and is now working in the field of researching the field of artificial intelligence. Our expert comment, we got a very eminent writer, Sanjay Baru, was the
former advisor to Prime Minister Manmohan Singh,
and the author of several books. So he's written about the international politics of statistics. Very interesting. We recommend it. Then we come, of course, to our cover story, which is titled Comprehensive Roadmap but Implementation Challenge of the National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2023. NCFSE outlines ways and means to implement the National Education Policy 2020, which came out 3 years ago, in the country's 1.5 million primary secondary schools. By the end of this calendar year, 2 additional drafts for teacher education and adult education are scheduled to be produced by the steering committee chaired by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, who is working flat out on this. And he suffered a health setback, but from all the indications, he's now recovered his momentum.
Yes.
So we can look forward.
So this story we highly recommend all teachers, teacher educators, even parents, students to read it, because it tells you how the National Curriculum Framework is an excellent document for schools to implement. And what we've done is we've divided this into 3 sections. What children should learn, what teachers should teach, which is pedagogy, and the last section is how children should be assessed and tested. So under each of these 4 sections, we first summarize the highlights of NCFSE, National Curriculum Framework for School Education, what they contain, and we give our feedback, Education World feedback, and comment.
And the important thing is that the reason why this document is like 623 pages is explained here. It's because they're right through the stages of learning, at every stage, the certain curricular goals are set.
Yeah.
Which
curricular goals, not just curricular goals, but also illustrative
learning outcomes. Yes.
And there are lots of examples. Like I said earlier, I repeat, this is an excellent teacher's reference manual rather than a framework, because it gives under each of these heads. Now, say for example,
8 curricular subjects.
Yes, for example, under the head of science, it gives so many teaching examples, how you can replicate it in the classroom, etc. Hence, that's what explains its volume and size.
Yeah, and there are 8 core subjects which the NCFE suggests how they should be taught, how they should be learned, which are languages, math, science, social sciences, and
vocational education, physical education, all of that is in here. So first, what children should learn, then guidelines for teachers, where again it's very neatly divided into what at the preparatory stage, foundational stage, middle and senior secondary stage, how it all needs to be structured within the classroom. Again, Dilip, we've given, I think, some very useful feedback.
Also from experts.
Yes, also from experts and from ourselves, where we say that, yes, all this is fine, but let the agency of teachers and their flexibility and innovation retain that. Don't, blind them with too much detail.
Yes.
That
and the curricular goals and all are not set in stone.
Exactly.
There should be some room for
flexibility, innovation, teachers to use.
Anyway, it's a very interesting story to write. I don't know whether it will be as interesting for our readers to read, but we recommend it.
Yes, we recommend it.
We've done our very best.
Yes, because I think you're unlikely to read the 628-page document, so we advise you to read this 12-page cover story, which summarizes the document for you, for your benefit. So people,
yes,
I love this month's people section, Dilip. I think very
interesting
diverse people.
Yes.
We have the IB Director General, Mr. Oli Pekka, profiled here.
That's the International Baccalaureate. He's the new Director General.
Yes, we have Mr. Umang Sangal, who started a very innovative startup called Uplifters Academy, and then a social activist from West Bengal, Mr. Basu, who's doing some excellent work in providing vocational education as well as school education tutoring to underprivileged girl children in Kolkata. And then two Ivy League dream enablers who are enabling students, Indian students, to get admission into top US Ivy League universities. And again, a very interesting lady based out of Paris, Anik, who has started this entire concept of corporate universities.
Which she believes that some of these companies are so large, the HRD departments are so large, that they should be actually called universities.
Yes.
And how to get the best out of corporate universities.
Indeed. International news section, again, very interesting.
Yes. One is, of course, the headline stories about the Supreme Court, US Supreme Court now having prohibited
race-based admissions
into universities. And then there's something from Britain,
Vietnam,
Nigeria.
Vietnam is very interesting story, Dilip, how their K-12 education system has become a big success.
A big success.
A lot of lessons to learn for India from the school success story of Vietnam.
Yes, and it underpins their economic development. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Then Norway, and then Hong Kong.
Yeah.
This, stories from around the world. You won't find these kind of stories anywhere.
Teacher to Teacher, again very insightful column written by Mr. Himmat Dhillon, who's the Prince Headmaster of the Lawrence School, Sanar, where he talks about the importance of continuous curriculum innovation.
Yes.
In keeping your school progressive and keeping your school a 21st century.
Yes, and he recommends that the curriculum should not become static, but should always be innovated and worked on.
Yeah, and dynamic.
Yeah.
Book review.
Yes, very interesting book on
Emergency with a Difference.
Yes, according to the author of this book, that's Arvind Narayan. India is going through an emergency. Unlike 1977, it's not been declared. So then, of course, our postscript page where it's sundry musings of the editor. We talk about
ranging from how
Byju's. There's a story on
Byju's. About how gouging happens routinely.
No, and how airlines, there's no cap on airlines fees, so they're taking full advantage of it.
Yes.
And then how nurses, India is experiencing a severe shortage of nurses. It's because they don't enjoy social respect, good pay, or good conditions. So a lot of them, in fact, every nurse that one comes across is planning to leave the country. There are only 2 lakh 37 nurses for 1 lakh nurses for 1.4 billion people. That's a very bad ratio.
Absolutely.
So that's
EducationWorld August issue. Highly recommend that you read it, especially our cover story. But before you go, as usual, ParentsWorld, again an important, relevant story. We've done a cover story, parenting primer for children with disability. So we advise parents of special needs children. We've given them some guidelines, some tips on how their parenting journey can become, easier
And how
and
to
more,
cope.
yes, how to
Yeah.
cope better, and some very excellent resources and advice from special educators, counselors, and therapists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then there's a story on how why you should stay connected with your teenagers, though teenagers might say they don't want to connect with you.
But they value family,
Yes.
love, and connection.
Yes, I think it's very, very. I'm surprised that there's no such. There are a few other magazines, but I doubt if on parenting, which are as good as this.
Yes,
So,
they discuss,
very
parenting trends and important, relevant issues like Parents World does. So,
well,
happy
thank you.
reading. Thank you.
That's all for us. Thank you.